Hey guys, it's Stevens, and welcome back to Powerwash Convos. Today I'm joined by my good friend Gonzgrim. Do you wanna say hello?
Hi, this is Gonzgrim. I'm a Twitch streamer. I masquerade as an orc, 3D orc VTuber, and I like playing retro games. But today we're playing a less of a retro
No,
game.
this is
So
a pretty new game. It only came
yeah,
out, I think, this
so
year. So
yeah, cool. Okay, so we're live.
yeah, we
I
are.
mean, I'm used to being live, but I'm not used to future people seeing me live. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I don't know how many people watch my VODs, so
that's the thing. I never really think about people watching VODs because it's not something I typically do.
yeah.
But so I don't really think of it as something like an option. But apparently, people do often like to watch the VODs.
Yeah, at least like within our friend group, sometimes they'll watch a VOD just to kind of catch up on, especially if there's like a story or something. So like for
Mm-hmm.
Road 96 or Undertale or something like that, some people do actually watch the VOD just to catch up on what happens. So I try to
Yeah.
keep my VODs like clean so that they can be viewed later, you know. But
Yeah, it is very annoying when I'm playing a game and I say I'm playing Kingdom Hearts because it's the most frequent thing that this happens. Is that it's like, oh, there was like your VOD got muted because of content ID. I'm like,
yeah,
it's literally in-game music. Like, what am
yeah.
I meant to do about that?
I don't know. That's the problem with especially playing games that are like based off of licensed movies.
Hmm.
So, for example, like if you want to play a Lord of the Rings game, it might pick up the theme too. While I was doing something else, Gons recommended. He's like, "Oh, there's this song. There's this Hobbit song. You know, you should play it." I'm like, "Okay, cool." I'm like, "Is it in the movie?" He's like, "No, I don't think so." So I played it, and then of course it got muted because it was in
Wow.
the damn movie. so,
Yeah. I mean,
oh
when
well.
God says something like that, you just should trust him.
I
He's
I
either like messing with you.
I don't think so. I don't think Gons is out to destroy VODs,
No,
not typically,
I don't
but
think so either, but he is a bit of a troll sometimes.
yeah, a bit. But yeah, that was fine, I think.
So yeah, I've seen you've been playing Undertale. I've been trying to avoid those streams because my friend Ethan bought me Undertale to stream.
Yeah, I highly recommend it. One thing I will recommend for you, it's not a spoiler, it's more of a quality of life thing.
Hmm.
Play it on controller. For me, tried to play it at first with a mouse and keyboard, and it was awful.
Uh-huh.
It's not great to play the game that way. I'm sure other people would argue against me on that, but I found the controller was a lot easier to avoid because it's essentially like a bullet hell
Hmm.
for the bosses. So I found
Right.
controller is a lot more
Yeah, I've seen a bit of the
fluid.
gameplay.
Okay.
So were you someone who like grew up on console gaming more than
Uh,
PC gaming?
that's okay. That's actually a hard thing to say. I would say I grew up with PC games, but I didn't grow up with like Twitch PC games. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like PC games that required you to be very like fast with your actions, right? So I
Okay.
would say when it came to games like that, I played console. Like the games that I grew up with on PC was like I played like Lemmings or SimCity or
Hmm.
something like that. Like very simple like games that were actually on floppy disk, but like they didn't require like me to be very fast. The first
Okay.
games of that kind were like the Super Mario Brothers game on the Nintendo Entertainment System. That was on console, so very kind of got picked that up very quick on that
Hmm.
kind of platform. So
For me, I played mostly console games as a kid. I did
yeah,
play like some computer games, but there were things like you ever play Relic 2 or just Command and Conquer?
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, me and my brothers. When I visited my brothers recently, we got a big game of Relic 2 going. It
Oh,
was a
that's
lot of fun.
awesome. You guys like have a LAN party or just do it over
Yeah,
the internet?
we had a when we, we didn't do it over the internet. We tried doing it over the internet because my brother's best friend wanted to play with us as well,
Yeah.
but it just wouldn't work because
Yeah,
they
it's
don't.
it's not as well supported.
Yeah,
Origin might have a new setup, but I don't know.
I don't think it's supported at all by the original people. I think it's like a third party system now.
Yeah, I think was Origins like the Microsoft platform? Is that right? I
Yeah,
think. Oh no, EA. That's
EA.
EA.
Right.
But they have at least the digital release for the Command and Conquer and Red Alert games.
I didn't know that actually
Yeah.
until recently, and I haven't played. Like I played it at my brother's house, and like
Yeah.
other than that, it's been years. But there's such fun games. Like,
Yeah.
but apart from that, I did mostly play consoles growing up. So moving to being like a streamer and playing games on stream, I typically tend to prefer to play games that I can play on the PC, because dealing with the capture card is super annoying.
Yeah, for sure.
And so it's interesting. I prefer to use a controller for most games. The only games
Yeah.
I tend to use a mouse and keyboard
I
are
do
like.
too. If I can help it, a controller just feels more comfortable in my hand, I think.
Yeah, I sometimes use mouse and keyboard for shooters. Like Mass Effect, I've been playing with mouse and keyboard.
Okay.
The Resident Evil games, that sort of thing.
I can't. This isn't your first time through Mass Effect, though, right?
No, I played through it on stream, and I'm playing through it again on my own time.
Okay.
And it's been a lot of fun. I've been kind of addicted to it.
Yeah, I adore that series. I would say that's probably one of my favorite game series of all time.
It is really good.
Yeah.
The first time I played Mass Effect 1, I loved it, but then when I played the other two and went back to the 1, I was like, oh, I don't like this as much because the gameplay is different.
It's kind of rough to return to, I think. The controls aren't quite as good. I like the story in it. I think it still holds up in that respect.
Right.
I think it still has, like, the best Citadel hub world. Like, I like that the Citadel constantly evolves as you do things.
Yeah, I feel like the Citadel is best on Mass Effect 1. It seems kind of empty in Mass Effect 2.
Yes, agreed.
I think it's meant to be like you're meant to be on Omega for that hub world.
Yes, yeah. Because that's pretty much what they expect is your first stop is at Omega, I think. So yeah, no, that makes sense. But yeah, that's one thing I do miss. I think Mass Effect 3 also kind of makes good use of the Citadel as well. Mass Effect 3 gets a ton of hate from fans and stuff. Going back to it and kind of knowing what to expect, I enjoyed it a lot more. I think people were not ready for certain things about it. I don't want to spoil things because I'm sure people watching it might want to try it on their own. But
yeah, I played Mass Effect 3 and I really liked it. I don't remember being too upset with it when I played it. It is different. It's very focused on side story stuff that like to complete. But that's why I kind of liked it. I really like doing side missions. Like if a game has a good side quests, I'll tend to do that more than the main story.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, that's the same with like most Bethesda games as well. Like I beat Skyrim. I didn't really care about the main story in Skyrim though. And Oblivion, I've never really beaten proper, but I always did like all the side missions that I could and that sort of thing.
Yeah, Skyrim. I feel like funny enough, we're talking a lot about the same things I've talked to Chunky.
Oh, really?
We talked about Skyrim and how, like, I kind of got sick of the main story from all the challenge runs I'd done. Because
it kind of sucks. It's like the story about, like, you're the one chosen hero supposed to, you're a Dragonborn. It's so big to the point where I just don't care. I like, following Barnabas like the dog, and things like that. That's exciting.
That's a fun side quest for sure. Yeah. My favorite thing about when I was playing Skyrim was at one point I had like 4 followers around me, because quest followers will follow you even if you have a normal follower, right?
Yeah.
And so
you didn't complete their quests, is that right?
So yeah, you just don't complete their quests, and then they'll keep following you.
Yeah. Okay.
So I had Serana following me as a quest follower. I had Barbas following me. There's a dog you can get, Miko, who will follow you around even if you have a follower, which is a little strange because he doesn't have a quest. And then I think I had Lydia with me.
Okay.
So I just had 4 people to
do.
I had like 4 people just to do everything for me. It was a lot of fun.
That's a good way to play it, I think. I think, yeah, I'm trying to think. I think in the Fallout series, at least the Bethesda versions, you could only have one follower at a time, I think.
I didn't
A
get
dog. You
in.
can have a dog and one other person, I think.
I didn't get into the Fallout games as much. I played a little bit of Fallout 4, but just couldn't get into it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Part of the problem, I think, was when I was streaming my first playthrough, and I at one point like the stream crashed because the game crashed, which at the time would cause the stream to crash because I was doing it directly from console,
Yeah.
and I lost a bunch of progress. And I was like, I don't feel like doing this up right now, and then I just never went back to it.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, that's usually like a feature of a lot of the games from that company is they have
Right.
frequent crashes and stuff. It sucks.
Yeah, I was
I didn't
playing.
experience on console as much, honestly. It wasn't until I played these games on PC that I started having major crashing and bug issues.
I had a good fair crashing in Skyrim on the PS4.
Yeah.
But I played Doom the other day, and it crashed for seemingly no reason. All I was doing was like switching weapons, and it was like crashed. So like, what happened?
Yeah, that's weird. A newer computer or?
Yeah, I have a pretty new computer.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know then. Weird.
I
mean, Doom can be pretty. Changing weapons is bizarre, but like Doom can be pretty graphic intensive, I guess. Especially if there's like a lot of explosions, particle effects, that sort of thing.
Usually it runs fine, but for some reason it was just like, no, you can't change weapons right now. We're gonna crash.
Yeah. That sucks. Yeah, I'm trying to think. One of the first games I noticed that on was like for StarCraft 2. There was some cutscene where just like an explosion happens in the cutscene, and then it just threw me out of the game because it just couldn't handle it. It's awful.
Sometimes I have games crash or like going to the main menu, and I don't really know why. It's just like, you're done playing this game? Fine, get out of here.
Yeah, that's funny. It's this pre-built feature of ejecting you from the game and sending you to the main menu.
Yeah. Like, it'll go to the main menu, and then it'll stay there for a second, and then it'll crash.
Oh, okay. That's weird. See, with a lot of retro games, that doesn't happen.
Yeah. I
I
think...
never had Banjo-Kazooie crash.
I never played Banjo-Kazooie. Was that a Nintendo game?
Yeah, it was Nintendo 64.
I didn't have... I had a Wii, but I was more of a PlayStation gamer as a child than anything else. Like, we had a Wii, but I didn't play games on it that much. We had a GameCube at one point, which I feel like I played more than the Wii. Maybe that's just like...
No, GameCube was
false
good.
memory.
I would say GameCube also had like it had excellent games. It had one of the best controllers that Nintendo has ever made.
Yeah, I remember like switching from GameCube controller to the Wiimote and being like, why is it so different?
Yeah, it's not great, at least in my personal opinion. Yeah, no GameCube. So wait, what was your first system then? Was it the Wii or?
My first system was the PS2.
PS2. Okay.
And I played a lot of Kingdom Hearts. There's like a lot of video game movie tie-ins that I played. Like, there's a Spider-Man game based off of Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. A lot of people remember Spider-Man 2.
Yes, yeah.
But I played the
You
first
played
one.
the first one. Okay, yeah. I remember renting the first one from Blockbuster and didn't play much of it, and then the second one came out and we were hooked on that. So.
I've only seen gameplay of that. It honestly doesn't look much like it's very different from the first one, but for me it's like that doesn't seem like a classic. It seems pretty basic, but maybe if I had played it myself, I'd be like, oh, I can see why people...
I'd recommend giving it a try. It was, at least at the time, it was like one of the first like really big, like open world sort of adventure games. Like, I mean, that's not entirely true. There were definitely RPGs back before then that had that open world feel, but that one felt like very flexible compared to a lot of the games back then. So.
I think it's also partly because like I didn't play that game. as a kid, but people who
Yeah.
would be like it's a classic because it's like nostalgia.
Yeah.
That's
That's fair. I think the thing I liked about it, and I think the first game did that too, was it kind of introduced villains that didn't show up in the movie. You know?
yeah, because the first one had Shocker and the Vulture
Yeah,
and
and the second one had
Scorpion.
Mysterio, and yeah, who else did it have? It had a bunch of characters that like because I didn't read the comics. Like I
Right.
watched the cartoon when I was a kid, but like yeah, the cartoon's just so limited, and they keep drawing from the same rogues gallery. You know, it was always
Mhm.
Doctor Octopus, the Hobgoblin, and Scorpion. You know,
It's
so.
interesting you go to the Hobgoblin first and not the Green Goblin, because that's what
Yeah, no,
everyone
the
knows.
Hobgoblin was big in the cartoon. Like in the early '90s, they didn't do the Green Goblin very much. It was mostly the Hobgoblin.
I remember, I think it might have been the 90s show. I can't remember which show it was, but there was like one episode that sticks in my mind where like the Hobgoblin and the Green Goblin were working together.
That wouldn't surprise me. Yeah.
And I that one sticks out of my mind from that show, but I don't know why. Like, I only remember parts of it because it was when I was young. Because,
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't grow up in the 90s, so if I
Right.
was watching the 90s TV show, it was probably reruns when
Yeah,
I
it was
was
probably
very
on like
little.
was the Disney X
Yeah,
whatever. You
Disney
know
XD. It might have
yeah, yeah,
been.
yeah.
I don't know if that existed at that point. I don't know
Oh,
when
okay.
that started existing.
Yeah, I don't remember either.
I remember watching stuff on it when I was a kid, but I don't remember like if it was always something that existed when I was a kid, and I just didn't realize it. I was like, Disney's Disney. I don't care
I
about all these other channels.
I didn't get cable until I was about like 14, so
Mm,
I didn't really have all those channels. I had the basic TV, which was just kind of terrible, and we had dial-up as well. So
uh,
dial-up is an era of internet that doesn't need to be remembered, I think.
well, from what I hear, it wasn't great.
Yeah, it wasn't great. The
But I mean,
internet
it was the first form of internet, so
yeah, at least for the public for sure.
right.
But I think like yeah, I just remember like when I was younger, the internet it was harder to search. You know, you kind of had to know, you had to be more aware of what you were looking for, and
Mhm.
like there was a lot of just like super amateur websites, like with people who had basic ideas on how to generate a website. And so a lot of the times you come across this website that was just like had this gross teal background and like Comic Sans pink writing on it,
Mhm.
and just like it almost just looked like a text document, but something with hyperlinks, that you go to.
Right.
And you could get things that you probably shouldn't be able to get a hold of. Like I remember I got a bunch of demos and like ripped games from the internet back then. So like that was how I was able to play like a demo of Warcraft 2 or the Army Men games or something like that. It was
Right.
just through some website that just had a link and download, and you could just go do that.
Sounds
So
like you pirated a bunch of games as a child.
well, the thing is, I didn't understand how that worked, so I wasn't like aware that was the issue. And they were usually incomplete too, right? Like they were
Mhm.
never the full game. It was always like some, almost like somebody like because I wasn't even sure if it was like an official demo, but it was something that was like cobbled together from Warcraft 2 or something. It was very strange, but it wasn't the full game. Like I didn't have that full game until I purchased it from from a computer store or something like that.
Makes sense. You wouldn't be able to get a full game from some random website, but
Yeah, I'm sure you could if you were
I
more
mean
savvy, but I was
these
not.
days I'm sure there are websites you can get a full game for free.
Oh, for sure.
You know, it may not
That's
be
no doubt.
legal, but you can do it.
That's no doubt for sure. But yeah, it was just kind of scary. It was much easier to get like a virus back then too on your computer.
I
So
imagine because there wasn't as many like safeguards and like people didn't know what they were doing.
yeah,
I mean, I'm sure it's just as easy for uh, back then as it is for old people these days who just don't know how to use a computer.
that's true. But I feel like Windows has some good built-in defenses, and like I have my own program that I like to run, especially if I accidentally go to a website that turned out not to be as reputable. Then I just run the check, make sure that we quarantine or isolate whatever might be the problem, malware, that
Hmm.
sort of thing. So
Yeah, there's definitely a lot more these days than what once existed.
Yeah, for sure. But you know, we also weren't very smart about it back then, so.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, yeah. I'm trying to think. My first console though was I mean, the first games I ever played were on PC. They were on floppy disk.
Mm-hmm.
Those kind of games and stuff. Um, so it was Lemmings. It was a bunch of just random small games too. Like I remember playing there was a game called Rescue Rover where your goal was to go save your dog, and it was a bunch of puzzle games, and so you had to like push mirrors around blocks and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of id's first games before Doom. So it's kind of cute compared to what they ended up doing, you know, for their main game series.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And then yeah, a neighbor of mine had Doom, and I remember playing that. And I guess my mom didn't realize what I was playing, you know, because at least back then it was like super violent. Because like when you shoot a monster, they like flecks of blood shoot out, and then when they die, they kind of like crumble into like a heap of blood and death, you know.
Right.
So
I think I say Kingdom Hearts is one of the first games I ever played. It may actually be the first game I ever played. I can't like remember that far back because I was playing games. Because my older siblings were playing games before I was. So like when I was very little, they would play games with me, or they would sometimes they would give me what they would call the special controller, which turns out didn't work.
Oh.
And so they would give it to me to be like, yeah, sure, you can play with us.
You're playing. Yeah. Okay.
So like there's probably games that I thought I was playing that I actually wasn't. But I remember I was playing Kingdom Hearts on my brother's file because I couldn't read yet.
Yeah.
So I would have been really young.
Yeah.
And then when I actually learned how to read, I got my own file and I played through the game on my own. It is interesting for me though, like, I think it was Kingdom Hearts 3 was the first time I had like a genuine experience with the game, with the series, because my older siblings had played it, so I'd seen bits and pieces of it. Like, so Kingdom Hearts 3, I bought it the day it came out.
Yeah.
So it was the first game in the series that I had an actual blind playthrough of.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that. I'm trying to remember. You know, it's kind of funny that you mentioned your brother's giving you kind of a fake controller, so I'm assuming so you don't like screw up their game or something, right?
Yeah, usually that, or they were playing and it wasn't a multiplayer game, or there wasn't enough people, or they just didn't want to play with me. They would just be like, yeah, here's the special controller you're playing. And apparently it took me a long time to figure out that's what they were doing. My little sister figured it out instantly. She's like, hey, no, this doesn't work. Give me something that works.
That's funny. I never did that to my brother, but I do remember. He wouldn't like me telling this story, but I remember we were playing Banjo-Kazooie, and he wanted to start the game, so he went through the menu, and he couldn't read back then either, and he accidentally switched over to delete file, and we were very close to the end of the game, and he ended up deleting our furthest playthrough, and I didn't pick up that game again until fairly recently, actually, just because we were so close, we had done so much work. I was just
that is heartbreaking.
Yeah. And he feels bad about it, I'm sure. It was, it's that sort of thing just happens.
It's like, yeah, you're a dumb kid. You don't really do it. You delete a file. Like, I'm sure I had done that a handful of times to my siblings. One time I accidentally deleted a save file that I had a lot of progress on. Like, I was old enough to know that how to delete things, and it would delete it. But I wasn't paying attention, and I thought I was on the load screen. And I was trying to load a different save file, and I was actually on the save game screen. So I saved over a file that had like 300 hours in it.
That's horrible.
And I was like, dang, man. Like, I had probably already done everything I had done in that other file, but that was like the first file of the game that I played, so that's why it was so long, because I had to do everything for the first time. And it was like, man, that's so unfortunate, because that's all that progress that I probably already made up anyway, but...
I'm trying to think if I've ever actually done that before. I'm sure I have, but nothing super traumatic is coming out. Especially on stream. I've been lucky. Stream, I don't think I've ever accidentally, destroyed a file before, which has been really lucky.
Right. A lot of the games I play on stream, there's like a autosave feature, and so I'm safe from that.
Yeah.
But also, like, I don't delete save files unless I have to. I probably saved over some Fallen Order save files that I might not have cared about, because I've been doing the permadeath of Fallen Order.
Okay.
And
that's the Jedi game. You're the young kid who. Okay, yeah, I remember that.
But you can only have like 5 save files at like max. And so I would have to delete an old one, if I wanted a new one. So I don't think I've deleted any like stuff that I actually have progress in. But also it's the PC version, and I have both the PC version and the console version.
Yeah. No, that a lot of old games were that way though. Like that's where the term rotate your saves comes from. When you're playing like an adventure game like Monkey Island or King's Quest. Well, Monkey Island not so much because you can't really lose that one, but King's Quest you can. You're given like 4 or 5 slots, and you have to like save, sequentially, and then rotate through again, just so that you can always have something you can go back to, just in case you did something screwy early on.
Right.
So, Fallout 1 is also incredibly important to do that, because you can fuck up your game pretty early in Fallout 1, so you need to make sure that you can rotate back if you need to.
Sure, Mass Effect, the original version, was like that, right?
I'm trying to remember. Was there a save limit? I can't remember.
I'm not sure, because I've only played the Legendary Edition.
Okay.
Because it was just not something I played as a kid. Probably because it's an M8 game, so I probably would.
Well, Mass Effect 1 came out in 2007, so it's a while ago.
So I don't know. It's just like something I never played. I also had not even heard about it for a long time, because as a kid, it's like I'd basically, when I was little, I would play whatever my brothers would play, because it's like, I don't know what good games are out there. I'm not gonna buy a game I know nothing about and be like, oh, well, this was good, because like, I mean, I didn't really have an allowance as a kid, so I couldn't just like buy games. It was only at certain times of the year where I would actually have money to buy a game myself.
Yeah.
And so I would just be like, well, I'll just go with whatever my brothers recommend, because they play games too, and they'll probably just recommend something they're gonna play anyway. But like, at least I'll know someone's gonna enjoy it if I get it. If I buy a game that is like nobody liked, I'd feel like I wasted my money.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm kind of curious. Was there ever a game that, I'm sure there is, but was there ever a game that you bought that you were like, wow, this is terrible, and I'm sad that I spent money on it?
I mean, more recently, when I actually had my own money to buy games, but it was Avengers, the video game, just absolutely sucked.
That's too bad.
And I pre-ordered it. And the pre-order sucks too. Like, it's just like you get credit on the Square Enix store. Like, it's not even like something specific to the actual game that I pre-ordered.
Yeah.
So I pre-ordered this game, got like basically, I had to wait a long time for it, I think. I don't know why. Like after it came out, like it was still a couple weeks before it actually arrived at my house. And it just wasn't good. I didn't like the gameplay at all. The story was decent, but like, not super great.
Was it based off the movies in any way? Or
no, it was its own story. It's kind of like, have you seen the show Miss Marvel?
No, I don't think I have.
No, it's similar to the story of that, but it was before that came out. It's just like, it follows her character, and the Avengers like already exist, and then she ends up joining up with them.
Like, this is Captain Marvel?
No, Miss Marvel, it's a different character. She's in the in the comics she's an Inhuman, which
Okay.
is different than any other superheroes, I think. I'm not entirely sure.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know.
In the game, she gets her powers because of, like, there was a something radioactive went off in New York City, as it usually does. And that's how she got her powers.
Of course. Radioactive spiders, radioactive whatever.
Yeah, if you get exposed to radiation, you'll get superpowers. That's what I'm
Yeah,
hearing.
of course.
Nothing bad will happen. You'll get superpowers.
Yeah.
I do like that there's a comic line where Peter Parker is bitten by a radioactive spider and just becomes like a sick, dying man because of the radioactivity.
Was that one written and directed by Alan Moore? He decided to
I'm
take
not
his
sure.
dark spin on it.
Not sure who wrote it.
He's the guy who did the Watchmen series, so he was kind of taking a piss out of the whole superhero concept with the Watchmen.
I'm not entirely sure.
He was the one to do that before it was cool. You know, now you've got like The Boys, and you've got, what was it, Mystery Men, which I don't even know if anybody remembers Mystery Men anymore.
I started watching The Boys the first season, and I really like it so far. And I just haven't gotten around to watching it more because there's like a billion shows that I have to watch that are like supposedly really good. I'm currently watching the I guess the Defenders shows with like Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, those shows.
Okay.
And I'm on season 2 of Luke Cage. And I just finished season 2 of Jessica Jones, which was super slow.
These are all on Disney Plus, right?
Yeah, these are all on Disney Plus. They're originally on Netflix. Like, they were Netflix originals, so I'm fairly certain.
Oh, okay.
And then, like, Disney was like, well, they're ours now. We're putting them on our thing. Because they were canon to the MCU, right? And then they weren't, and I don't think they are still. It's kind of unclear.
Are they ongoing shows, or are they finished?
No, they're finished. They're making a new Daredevil show, though.
Okay.
Right? Called Daredevil Reborn. So I don't know if that's going to be, like, that version of Daredevil. He just, like, comes back. And it's, like, way later. Or if it's just, like, a new Daredevil, and it's, like, the other one's not canon. Because, like, that one's still in, like, they just announced it. They haven't said much about it other than that.
Well, who knows even if the canon's gonna, what's canon or isn't canon is gonna matter, right? Like, because with this Spider-Man No Way Home, spoilers for No Way Home, but like they mix a bunch of like the different Spider-Man movies, you know, the Sony and Disney. So like, they can just do, if they want to just redeem it canon, they could, you know.
Yeah, they could just be like, oh, that was a slightly different multiverse where they have like all the same events happen, except these things happen differently.
Exactly. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that they have their options open now, especially with the precedent.
Yeah, with No Way Home and Multiverse of Madness being about the multiverse.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen that one, but
I haven't seen the movie. I just know about it. You know.
I would recommend it. I really enjoyed it. I've seen it twice now.
Okay.
I watched it in theaters, and then I watched it when it came to Disney Plus.
Yeah, that's what I want to see. I haven't seen any of the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies, but I
really?
heard the first one was really good, and the last one was good. I don't know how the one with Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio is.
I really like that one. I think they're all really good. Some people. It seems like Spider-Man fans just hate Spider-Man. Like, that's how it seems sometimes. Because they're like, oh yeah,
like
this yeah, it's like, get over yourself. It's a Spider-Man movie, and just enjoy it.
Yeah.
And there's like people who don't like, there's people who don't like all three trilogies. So I guess Amazing Spider-Man isn't a trilogy. It's just two of them. But there's people who don't like some people don't like one, and some people don't like the other. And I'm like, but I like all of them just because like I like Spider. I mean, I think Amazing Spider-Man has its flaws, but like so does every other movie that exists. There's never gonna be a perfect movie.
But what about Spider-Man, the Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 3, where he's dancing down the street and acting like a jackass the entire time?
I mean, I like it. I think it was hurt by Sam Raimi just not knowing Venom's character.
Yeah.
And so they were like, and they were pressured into making him a character in that one.
Yeah, well, he originally wanted the Vulture to be the villain in that one, which, funnily enough, was Tom
Never.
Holland's first.
It's interesting. He wanted the Vulture to be in it. It just wasn't at all, like, not even hinted towards the Vulture being in it.
Yeah.
In the actual movie that came out. But, like, I liked it when I watched it. I think, it's not the best of the trilogy, but it's still decent.
Yeah. No, yeah, I think most people like the first one, really love the second one. I think the second one did great, especially for who, I always get his name wrong. I think it's like Jason Molina or whatever, who plays the Dr. Octopus. He's also an already established actor, Well, so is Willem Dafoe. But I think he made a sympathetic Dr. Octopus that people really enjoyed.
Right. Because, Dr. Octopus isn't meant to be just some madman. He's meant to be, like,
right.
He went crazy because of the arms.
Right, exactly. Have you seen, like, Sam Raimi's earlier stuff?
I have not. The only things I've seen of Sam Raimi's is the Spider-Man movies and Multiverse of Madness.
Okay, so he was a horror director first. Horror comedy, actually. So he
That's
did
a weird mix.
Yeah, he did the Evil Dead series, and the first Evil Dead movie is just a straight up horror movie. So it might be humorous to some who think it's cheesy, but it's still a horror movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then he made Evil Dead 2, which decided to lean into it being a comedy. And it's fantastic. If you've never seen Evil Dead or Army of Darkness, Evil Dead 1, 2, or Army of Darkness, I'd highly recommend that. But that's the reason why I'm talking about that is there's this one scene in the Spider-Man movie with Dr. Octopus where he's on the table, like the operating table, and all the surgeons just get murdered by the arms, while they're trying to remove them.
Yeah, pretty brutally too.
Right, it's like there's a scene where a woman's being like dragged across the floor and her like fingernails are scratching across. It's horrifying.
Yeah,
and as a kid I didn't get that, but it's because he's a horror movie director.
Yeah, I remember when I first watched it, I was like, "This seems way out of left field. What is happening?"
But no, that's what he knows. So he's done that. I think he's done another. Conjuring. What was there was another horror movie that was like kind of humorous that I can't remember. Drag Me to Hell, maybe? Yeah, I think that's what he did.
I was gonna say I don't think Conjuring is that humorous, so that's I just
no. I think Drag Me to Hell was humorous in some ways. Something about like a goat human monster thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen that one, but I'll add it to the list.
Yeah. But yeah, Evil Dead. You don't have to see Evil Dead 1 because Evil Dead 2 actually because he lost the rights to the first movie. He actually redoes the first like 20 minutes of the movie is redoing the first movie, well with a comedic slant to it, and then goes forward with the rest of the story.
How do you lose the rights of the movie he made?
It must have been through the person that was producing his movie was probably funded by somebody else.
Got screwed over by contracts, I see.
Yeah. So yeah, but yeah, I'd highly recommend it. Evil Dead 2 is just a top-notch movie, and it's still a horror movie. Like it still gets pretty violent and gory, but like it's very funny.
The last horror movie I watched, I think was, I want to say, maybe it was one of the Conjuring movies. Maybe Conjuring 2.
Okay.
It was pretty good. I remember I watched like the Sinister movies, and I watched the first one, and I was like, oh, that was pretty good. And then like a few years later, I watched the second one, and I was like, this is just like a lot of the same stuff in the first one had, but just worse.
Yeah.
Because we've already seen it.
That's a lot of horror movies, though, honestly. Even ever since like back in the 80s, they would just kind of keep trying to do the same thing over and over again just to try to get more people, to see it, the familiar, like, you know what Jason's going to do, you know what Michael Myers is going to do, he's not very different from movie to movie.
It's also interesting is one of the actors who is in It Chapter 2 is also in Sinister 2. He's in Sinister 1, but like a minor character. And then he's like a major character in Sinister 2.
Yeah, I think It Chapter 1 is like the most recent horror movie I've seen.
Have you not seen the second one?
I have not seen the second
I
one.
saw the second one in theaters when it came out. Um, I had to get in with my brother because I wasn't 18 yet.
I see, I see.
But like, it was like I had parental permission. I wasn't just like, yeah, I'm gonna go see this R-rated movie.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, so yeah, I went to see that. I think it came out around my birthday, which is why my brother took me to see it. Because I remember it was I was doing cross country at the time, which it might seem irrelevant, but the reason I remember this is because people in my town were like tying red balloons to sewer grates and stuff.
Oh no.
And our mayor had to be like, yeah, no, there's not any killer crowds in our sewers.
Yeah.
But it was kind of funny to see, and me and my buddy who was in cross country would joke about it.
No, I remember hearing the news like people talking about seeing clowns trying to hitchhike on the side of the highway and stuff like that, you know, just to freak people out and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't know, it was a phenomenon. I never saw the second movie because I don't know, I wasn't I thought the first movie did a great job. I've read the entire book back when I was in middle school, and then I watched the miniseries with Tim Curry. But I really liked part one, but for some reason I just never made my way out to watch the second part.
Fair.
Was it as good as the first, or?
I think it was as good as the first. I mean, it's been a couple years since I've seen it, but I remember liking it. There's probably things that they did differently than the book that people probably hated.
Yeah.
I think they're fine. Like, I know, I haven't read the book, but I know what, like, when people talk about it, I know what they mean.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, well, I mean, some things shouldn't be in the movies that were in the book.
Agreed. 100% agree. I won't discuss them, but there were some very strange decisions that Stephen King decided to add in the and very age inappropriate too for a lot of the characters as well. So yeah, I'm fine with that not being in the movie.
So yeah, it's like you leave that out. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the right call.
I remember one part in the book that was always that kind of freaked me out though, that never showed up in like any of the movie versions, is like, so the Losers Club, they like to like hang out in those kind of like woods, badlands area, you know, by the creek and stuff. And there's a scene where like one of the bullies comes after them, and like he comes across like these floating like blood leeches or something, and just gets like picked apart by them.
Really?
It's such a vague weird scene, but I remember that being in the book and just being like, oh my god, like I can't even begin to like visualize in my head what this looks like. So
Crazy.
yeah,
I've read a bit of Stephen King's books. I was listening to The Stand. I haven't finished all of it, and I keep like going back to it and not finishing it. It's a big long book.
Story. Yeah, it's enormous. It's probably one of his longest stories, I think.
But I do like it. I think, and there's also just like a bunch of different characters that like they have to establish at the beginning. So there's like a lot of like exposition and like explaining stuff and meeting characters in the first half of the book.
Yeah.
But
no, you chose a good story to pick up. I really like The Stand. It's got a good miniseries too. Back in like 93, 94, they did a entire miniseries covering The Stand. Not covering everything, but covering the most important parts of it.
Because if you cover everything, it's gonna be more than a miniseries.
Yeah, for sure. But it has as one of the. Have you met Tom Collins yet?
I haven't met him, no.
Okay. Well, I won't say anything about him, but I will say in the miniseries he's played by the voice actor for Patrick Star. Before he was Patrick Star, because this is like '93.
It is interesting, like seeing those like iconic actors in something that's like very different than the role they're known for.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, this is the same person.
Yeah. Well, I will say, just based on the voice he uses, he probably got the role of Patrick Star because of the voice he uses in the miniseries. So.
Okay. So he's like Sounds like an idiot sort of voice.
I won't say idiot because it's a little harsh, but he does have like kind of an absent-minded kind of
Mm.
voice. So yeah,
I think Patrick is like it's just more into
Patrick's
that.
an idiot.
Yeah,
For
Patrick's an
sure.
idiot.
Oh my god. That show I wasn't, because I think it was like a slight bit too old for it when it came out. Or maybe not when it came out, but like I was during that phase where I'm like, oh, I don't want to watch these kid shows. They're for children. And then in high school, I went back and watched the reruns and loved the hell out of the show. I just
Right.
thought it was really funny.
I feel like at a certain age, people are just like, no, I don't want to watch that. That's for kids. And then they're like,
Right.
wait, no, this is actually really good.
Yeah, it's actually really funny. So,
Like I rewatched Spectacular Spider-Man, which is a kids show, one of the Spider-Man TV shows that was on in the. I think it was mid 2000s. I think it was.
okay.
It definitely was on when I remember it being on, but like I don't remember all of it from when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So I was watching it. I'm like, there's stuff in this for like more than just kids. Like it talks about addiction at some point.
Oh yeah.
And it's more of a family show. And people like to say family shows are like, oh, that's just a kid show. But I feel like it's something for everyone.
Yeah. The Spectacular Spider-Man, that's what it's called?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It has a banger theme song. It's on Netflix at the moment. The whole show.
Oh, okay. Cool. Then I can check that out then.
Yeah.
I need to watch all the Spider-Man stuff that's on Netflix before they take them down.
Yeah,
It's
because
been a while.
I'm sure. Why doesn't Sony just have their own streaming service?
I don't want any more streaming services. I want I want everything in one place and just play one lump.
That's fair, but like also that's not exactly how competition works. Sadly.
No, and that's not how it's going to be anymore.
Yeah.
We've essentially gone back to what cable used to be, which is where you would just kind of buy certain channels,
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what it is now. It's cable for the internet. You're now buying whatever channel you're interested in again.
Right.
You want the sports channel, you get ESPN, that sort of thing. So you just purchase each one, and they come in packages and shit.
I'm just saying because like I remember when Uncharted came out, I'm just like, is this gonna be on anything? Because like Sony doesn't have streaming service, so I ended up buying the movie on YouTube, and
Yeah.
it was pretty good. I liked it.
That's the one with Tom Holland, right?
Yeah, Tom Holland, and I forget who plays Sully.
Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah.
Macy still has work, but I'm glad that Tom Holland got to be a lead in that movie.
Yeah, I think I like Nathan Drake's character in that one a little more than in the games.
Yeah.
Because he's more realistic in that. I don't want to spoil anything for either the movie or the games. Because both are very, very good. I played through all 4 games, and I loved all of them.
I have not. I think I watched Jacksepticeye play like the last of them.
Mm-hmm.
Was it 4? I think.
Yeah, 4 was the newest one, I think.
That's the one with like the pirates and stuff, right?
I think so. Yes. It is.
Okay. Yeah. That's the only one I've ever seen.
I do like though in the Uncharted movie, it doesn't follow. Like it's not just a retelling of Uncharted 1.
Yeah.
It's just like it's got inspiration from all 4 games. Like there are scenes that are in the movie that I know exactly where they took that scene from because it's a very big scene in the game.
I see.
It's like a scene I know from 3, and like the main story is most heavily inspired by 4. But like I said, it's just bits and pieces.
So kind of like a secret city sort of thing.
I mean, isn't that really what like all of them are about?
That's actually true.
It's like, oh yeah, there's some secret gold that's like it's very repetitive. The storyline.
I mean, so was Indiana Jones, which was like directly what inspired the series. I think there's always some ancient religious artifact in some ancient city, whether existing or not.
And it's also cursed. That's the important part.
Yeah. The thing you're trying to go after actually has like a power on its own, and it's usually not something you want to mess with.
But it makes it so they don't actually get anywhere by the end of it, so they can have another game.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's like, I mean, I get it, but like, come on, you do anything different about the
Yeah,
story?
yeah.
That
I
being
think I
said, they
think
are
by
really
the end
good.
of the fourth one, he gets ahead in life a bit, right? Like he
Yeah,
seems pretty well off
I think
at that
even
point.
even by like, there's a big time gap between 3 and 4, where
Yeah,
I think he like retires and is doing like actual like honest work.
I see.
And then he gets thrown back into the life of crime because apparently, that it's just forced upon you. You can't do
Yeah,
anything about it.
it's hard to avoid. Just keeps
Apparently,
coming back.
maybe
I
you'd
mean,
try to
Indiana
not
Jones
be.
was a grave robber, so.
Yeah, I never actually watched any of the Indiana Jones movies.
I would highly recommend. I would recommend all of them, even Crystal Skull. I know it's not great, but it's still fun. I think.
Hmm.
Uh, My personal favorite is The Last Crusade, which is the third one. Most people say it's Raiders of the Lost Ark is their favorite. That's the first one. That
Hmm.
one's also very good. I would say that one's very solid, but somehow there's something really fun about Last Crusade. Anyway, sorry for bringing it up. I'm sure you have no idea what I'm talking about, but I would highly recommend watching them. I think.
Yeah, I've heard good things about them. Uh, I feel like, at least in my mind, I view them similar to like the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. It's like they're really popular, but like people seem to not love a lot of them. You know, like
I'm
from
trying to think. Did people talk about? Yeah, I guess not, people don't really like Indiana Jones is like a huge cultural phenomenon, though. I guess so is Pirates of the Caribbean, though.
mhm.
Like everybody referenced that when that came out, you know.
I really enjoyed Curse of the Black Pearl, and I think they just like slowly got worse and worse. They're not like terrible. Like none of them are super terrible. I
Yeah,
haven't seen five,
I
but
I would say the fourth one wasn't great. It was
yeah,
okay.
I didn't love four. I think it was weird because I watched two, and it ends on a cliffhanger. Spoiler alert, but I guess that's not really a spoiler. 'Cause, like if you're
Yeah,
setting up for another movie, that it's gonna be a cliffhanger.
yeah.
And so it ends on a cliffhanger. So I'm like, well, I want to watch the third one, and then I just didn't love the third one. Like it was not as good as the second one. And the second one I didn't love.
Yeah,
And so it's just like, well, I guess I'll watch four now. I mean, there's only one left, and at the time,
yeah,
five hadn't come out.
yeah.
Um,
The fourth one just felt disjointed from everything else,
yeah,
you know.
because
Because at least the third one continued the story, even though
yeah,
you know.
because Will and Elizabeth aren't there. I think
Yeah,
they just like they try to do it about Jack, and Jack isn't the main character. As
no,
much as people love him, he's a cool guy.
no, he
But,
can't carry the movie on
but
his
yeah,
own. I
he's
agree.
not the main character of the first three.
Yeah.
Will and
Oh, I
Elizabeth
agree.
are. So it's like, all right, we're gonna make this important side character the main character of this next one,
Yeah.
and it's just like we're not gonna make anything else that is gonna be like that was appealing about the first couple, other than this cool character everyone loves.
Well, because he's almost like a motivationless character, right? Like he plays
Yeah,
off the others. Like Will's the one. Will and the Swan, what's her, Elizabeth,
Elizabeth.
are like
Yeah,
are both like have their goals, right? And then he's trying to either
it seems
do
all
something
he
on his
cares
own or
about is he wants to drink rum and be the captain of the Black Pearl. That
right.
seems to be his only goals.
But he always does try to do the best option. You'll notice at least in the first movie, whenever he tries to make a move, he's always trying to do right by the people he cares about.
Yeah,
So like
he's
there's a
not
scene where
a bad guy. He's just
right,
like he doesn't seem to really have goals.
right. Like there's a scene where so it looks like he's betraying the British soldiers to the pirates, right? So he
Hmm.
goes and he's like, "There's British guys waiting outside, so you know you should go deal with them, right?" And then he's like, "So you guys are gonna get in your boat and get shot at, right? Or go." Well, that's not what he says, but that's what he intends, right? He's like, "You'll go get in your boat, right?" And they're like, "Nope, we're walking underwater," and so that kind of backfired on him. He was hoping they would drive out and then get destroyed, you know. So he was trying to do the right thing, but he actually ended up making it worse.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
And I haven't seen the fifth one. I don't even know what it's about.
Yeah, that has oh god, what's his name? It has the guy from No Country for Old Men though, the villain from that. He's a Spanish actor. I cannot for the life of me remember his name. But he plays Cortez in it. I saw snippets of it. It's not very good.
Yeah, I mean, I for some reason, like, I started watching it, got like 5 minutes in, and then just stopped watching it and never picked it up again. Like, I didn't stop watching because I was bored. I like had something I had to go do, and I just never picked it up again.
Just never had the desire to pick it up again. Yeah.
So to this day, I haven't seen it.
I don't usually leave a movie hanging. Trying to think the last. How much else? Yeah, we have like 1%. What are we going for?
Yeah, sometimes it doesn't tell you.
Yeah, this is the worst part when you're just trying to find like that one little bit.
Yeah, there's bits that are like in like corners here. It's hard to get to. Hard to tell that they're dirty.
Lower underside. Tower vertical struts.
Okay,
struts.
so we got the list on the side there now.
Okay, finally.
Tower roof struts. Isn't that? I played this one with I think Ethan. He struggled to find. No, I think it was tower trim we were struggling to find. So we went tower roof struts.
Oh, I found something.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It's very obvious when you look at it from this side.
Yeah. Can't get a good angle on it though.
There we go.
Okay, so now the tower vertical struts, 2 of them. But the problem is I never know which is the tower, which counts as tower here.
Yeah. I mean, I have my camera. The most worst place for this game. I never realized it. Okay, here's something.
Oh, you probably found it then.
There's one more though.
Oh, yep, I found it. There we go.
I did it.
Yay!